Hey everybody, welcome to Robbins Live, brought to you by Hargray. I'm April Bragg, President and CEO of the Robbins Regional Chamber, and we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Our guest today is Scott Hliton, Executive Director of the Georgians First Commission, and we're here to talk about reviving a healthy Georgia in response to COVID-19. Hey Scott, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here this afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Are we having fun yet?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So Scott, if you will, tell us what have the last 8 weeks been like, or heck, even the last 8 days?
Well, it's, as you can appreciate, it's been crazy. I think for everyone involved, right? We didn't know what we didn't know 2 months ago. We've learned a lot. We've come a long way. And really, the governor has a heart and a passion for our small business community. Being a small business owner himself, he knows what it takes to put your money and your life on the line to take the risk to start a small business. And so he has a passion to see us recover and get back stronger than we were before as we navigate through this public health challenge right now. So it's an honor to be on and to hear from you and your membership this afternoon.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And so speaking of the governor, we're going to be talking a lot about his executive orders, and he gave some updates earlier this week regarding businesses that are now able to open or expand their capacity. Can you recap those orders for us?
I can. It's a lot and it can be complicated, but I'll try to boil it down as simple as I can for you. So one of the biggest misnomers is that, businesses were closed. A lot of them weren't closed throughout this crisis. There was just certain guidelines that were placed on them, and we were kind of gradually loosening those. As of April 30th, the shelter-in-place order has expired for most Georgians. For those that are still at risk, over 65, have health issues, that is still in place until mid-June. Most recently, this week, in fact, the governor loosened some restrictions as far as it relates to summer day camps and childcare facilities. One of the big things that we've heard as far as figuring out how to reopen the economy is that parents would like to go back to work, but they need somewhere for their kids to be. And so we sort of found ourselves in this catch-22, which is why we are gradually taking steps to reopen that. I'll tell you, as far as industries that remain closed right now in our states, it's the one that you would think of the most. So, right, it's bars, large, performance venues, things like that are really built off of kind of amusement parks. Large gatherings of people is frankly what we're trying to avoid. I'll tell you now, just overall, what we're seeing in the state is a continued downward trend in our 7-day rolling average. We have sufficient resources available should there be a spike, and we're actively monitoring data across the state. And then testing capacity. The governor has been really, really passionate about this, that if anyone wants to get a test, they can get a test. And we have 65 locations spread all across the state where you can go in and get tested. And that's the big thing for us as far as figuring out data and getting the most accurate data we can to make these decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. So Scott, what in your opinion is the next benchmark we're looking to, and what does the next phase of recovery look like?
Great question. So we've been open now, kind of quote unquote open, since, the governor's kind of released for about 2 weeks, right? 2 to 3 weeks. And so we're studying that data to make sure it continues to trend in the right direction. I think really the next 2 weeks are going to be critical. I know the governor is sort of watching Gainesville and making sure that that's not another hotspot out there. But I think the next 2 weeks will be critical. Even though we've opened, what we've found is a lot of consumers and businesses aren't rushing back immediately, in large groups to get back. And so I think the more we begin to kind of loosen and open back up, it's going to be critical to watch the data and make sure that it continues to stay where we want it to be. So I'm really looking at through the end of May, as sort of the next kind of hurdle, I think.
Yeah, And that makes sense. And that's pretty on trend with what we're seeing here locally. So I know you've been in communication with businesses all across the state, and probably much like us are hearing kind of some extremes in the circumstances that you're hearing. But what are some of the general themes that you're hearing?
Well, it's tough, right? So small business, there's sort of two sides to the coin, right? Small businesses, unlike large ones, don't have piles of cash on for months at a time. That so when the state closes down and there's no revenue coming in, there's some very difficult decisions they're having to make. I talk to business owners all the time who they've got a big rent bill they got to pay, a mortgage bill, the landlord, and so those are really challenging issues, especially when you don't have revenue coming in the door. I'd say on the flip side, unlike large corporations, this is a time where small businesses have been nimble and innovative. I continue to be amazed at what I see of small business kind of turning on a dime and being very creative as far as how they operate their business, something that a large corporation may not have the flexibility to do. So again, a lot of them are just anxious to get back open and to make sure that consumers have that confidence that they're taking all the right steps to keep their customers safe. And for the large part, we're seeing businesses do the right thing and take the necessary steps to keep their consumers safe.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the most encouraging things to me, is to watch the pace and intentionality of businesses re-entering into the workplace, expanding their services on what they believe is a scalable model. And I couldn't be more proud of business and the community support. I think that's one thing that we all felt like was there in our communities, this rallying behind our farmers and the Georgia Grown movement, and rallying behind our local restaurants and retail and others that could pivot and offer curbside and delivery. Are you seeing that kind of across all industry sectors, or are there any shining lights out there?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I think we wanted to reopen is, in my mind, I think the private sector is one of our best tools to combat this. I mean, some of the best and brightest ideas we've seen, and some of the most creative ones, have come out from this. And the Georgians First Commission, the reason the governor established us is to get government red tape and regulation out of the way so that the private sector could grow and innovate and expand. And it's interesting, we've seen this little test lab during this. If there's a silver lining in all this, there's been a lot of restrictions that have been kind of released or watered down a little bit to allow businesses to be creative. A lot of them around delivery of food and alcohol and like that demonstrate that, maybe it's a healthy thing. Maybe we didn't need a lot of those regulations in the first place. So, we're seeing bright spots all across the state of our small business folks stepping up and doing the right thing, being creative and getting stuff done.
Yeah, well, and just an opportunity to share a little bit about Georgians First and what your purpose is. You mentioned red tape that maybe shouldn't be there. Can you share with our viewers who may or may not really be familiar with your office and this initiative, why you guys were stood up and what it is that you do and do best?
That's great. I appreciate that. So the governor's issued a lot of executive orders recently, but his very first executive order after getting sworn into office was to create the Georgians First Commission. We are comprised of 18 small business owners from all across the state. And our stated goal is to make Georgia the #1 state for small business. And by doing so, by streamlining government, removing red tape and burdensome regulation. And so, I don't know if it was the governor's wisdom, foresight, or frankly, just good luck. It was wise of him to create this commission a year ago, because now we've got a set of recommendations for the governor of things that we can do and change to help support our small business folks here in Georgia. So excellent foresight on his behalf. And we've spent the last year studying best practices, both internationally and nationally here, what other states have done to build up and promote their small business community. And so we're poised to deliver to the governor that report here in the next month, outlining a set of recommendations of things he can do to help small business. And so that is an awesome opportunity. And I would submit to you, Georgia is poised, in my mind, to recover that much quicker than any other state because we have a commission almost entirely focused on small business.
Yeah, and that is a great thing for us to be in that position. So Scott, I know you're, in addition to your professional life, you're a husband and a dad, and like many of us have worked from home, either full time or part time, over the last 8 weeks. How is your family adjusting to this?
Remarkably well. We haven't, gone crazy yet. It's fun. It's an adventure. It's been a great time, frankly, for us to get closer to one another and to learn and grow in new ways. But what I'm missing out on as an extrovert, just like you, April, it's tough. I want to get back out, see people, hug people, shake,
Yes,
all that again. And so that's difficult. But the kids have been fantastic, and we've used it as an opportunity to teach them some new skills that maybe they wouldn't have learned otherwise. So I know my oldest son has taken it upon himself to start his own pressure washing business, and so I'm proud of him for doing that. And he's been going around the neighborhood doing stuff like that. But it's been tough, right? So I work for the governor's office, and my wife, she owns her own small business, right? So there's two of us at home trying to balance that dynamic, and a lot of Georgians are faced with that same thing right now.
Yeah, and then school on top of that.
Yeah. That's right. I'm teaching social studies, math, and trying to help small business. So I'm glad you mentioned the kids, because probably at some point during this call, one of them is going to run down these stairs here. So you may get a live, but that's been the fun part, is on these Zoom calls, getting into people's family rooms and basements and seeing part of their personal side. It's neat.
Absolutely. So along those lines, I can't help but admire that flag over your shoulder. Is there a story there, or is it just a cool flag?
It is a cool flag because it has a really cool story. So
okay.
When my wife and I were first married, we lived in a little 2-bedroom home, and built in the 1940s. And I was digging out through our garage one day and came across this really old box with really old stamp on it, and pulled out this flag. And I was counting the stars in the flag there. I noticed it was missing 2 states, and so a flag dating back to prior to when we added Alaska and Hawaii there. So just a neat historic flag, and proud to have it hanging up in the home office here.
That's fantastic. Well, as we talk about the return to work, I know we heard from Department of Labor Commissioner Mark Butler not too long ago about unemployment numbers and things like that. I know with the government plus up of $600, many employers are worried about employees returning to work when they're able, and the exceptions for that. Is there anything along those lines, any encouragement you can offer to businesses?
I can tell you it's a real issue, right? And we've heard about it. So the federal government stepped up and did the right thing when this first thing hit, and we didn't know how long it would last and what would happen. And there's a lot of Americans and a lot of Georgians who are out of work right now, and so they need help and need to be taken care of to transition through this. But yeah, we are hearing from businesses that it's been tough to hire folks back because of it's a little bit more lucrative actually to remain unemployed. I think over time, what I'm hearing from folks is folks want to get back to work. They want to be productive again. So I think you'll see that tide turn. I was talking to a business owner this morning through the PPP program. He was able to keep all his staff on. So he's not dealing with that challenge right now. And I know a lot of businesses have applied for, received PPP. I think the second round has reached and touched a lot more small businesses than the first round. Very significant amount of money, really around $15-16 billion through PPP has flowed through Georgia. And a lot of folks have done the right thing, kept their folks on board, and are starting to transition back into business.
Very good. Thank you for that. For those of you who are just joining us, you're watching Robbins Live, a production of the Robbins Regional Chamber, sponsored today by Hargray. And my guest is Scott Hliton with the Governor's Office of Georgians First Commission. So, Scott, this is an unfair question and a total setup, but I just couldn't resist after I saw our similar post on Facebook. What was the first thing you rushed out to do after the Governor's first opening up of the state?
Oh, April, I was feeling shaggy just like everybody else, and I had to go out and get that haircut. So there we are. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Love it. I did have a mask with me. I took it off for the picture, but you and I are looking good. Looking good.
Yeah. Very cool. So you mentioned earlier about access to childcare, and I know that that is going to be critical for many to return to work and can greatly impact a lot of businesses. You know, it was exciting news about the increase in capacity for classroom size in childcare facilities and the opening of summer day camps. There's still many that are stuck at home with their kids. Who can we look to for guidance at the state level as we see those restrictions continuing to be eased, and hopefully encourage some of our day camp providers to go ahead and open up when they're ready and it's allowable?
Great question. So our department, the Georgia Department of Early Child Care and Learning, is the one that'll be issuing further guidance on that. Right now, your best bet is to adhere to what is outlined in the executive order there. I'll tell folks 2 places to go check out if you're social media savvy. The governor's Facebook page has fantastic graphics that really break down in simple form for you what the requirements are. I'd also encourage you to visit the Georgia Department of Economic Development. Just Google them. Right on their main landing page there is a really good, crisp, sharp place where you can go in and see what the new restrictions are and new guidance. So 2 good places to check out. I'd give you a third as well, the Georgia Department of Public Health. I don't know about you, April, but I am a data nerd and like to kind of geek out on some of that stuff. And so their numbers are updated 3 times a day, and just a great dashboard that they have there on their website to be able to track and follow what the latest trends are, including county level data. So again, Department of Economic Development has a great site as far as guidance, how your business ought to operate during this time. And then Department of Public Health has a great dashboard there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the North Central Georgia Health District. They have been just tremendous partners through all of this, and the Georgia Chamber. So we have had tremendous support from the state chamber and really all of our elected and appointed representatives at the state level. The access to them during this time has really been unprecedented. And, you know, so I'm shifting gears a little bit. You know, we all talk about the things that we've had to adapt to. What are things that maybe you think won't change or that you don't want to see change in terms of how we make information accessible and how we communicate and things along those lines?
Yeah, so, you know, technology has been obviously the big winner from this. It'll be fascinating to see the trend of folks returning to work or not. We even before this, you'd seen more kind of that move toward teleworking, shared office space, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the trend. As far as cash, you know, I haven't used cash in the last few months, and do we kind of continue to a trend toward electronic payments? But yeah, I think there's a lot of folks who had not adapted technology yet. You know, I was talking to a restaurant owner this morning, and a lot of his older population had not, you know, been familiar with ordering online, things like that, and that's been a big uptick. You know, just the knowledge around, hey, I can place an order on my phone and have it show up at my door. So I think that's some of the silver lining around this is we've learned to adapt and come up with new things. Again, like I said, I hope the handshake doesn't go away.
Me either. And a hug. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. So, yeah.
So we're using new technology today and just about every day now in our lives. Do you have you're a data nerd. So are you a tech nerd? Do you have a favorite tech tool or something that you're really enjoying about this new virtual space?
I wish I'd bought stock in Zoom before all this started.
Right?
That I love, and I'll put in a plug here for StreamYard. Is a great platform as well. So, and as long as I'm putting in plugs, I've got to put one in, April, for you and the chamber. One of the best resources that I've seen as far as disseminating information to business is our local chambers. And so for a lot of businesses right now, you may see this as an extra cost. I see it as an absolutely vital cost to your business, to staying informed on the latest and greatest of what's going on. And so I would encourage everyone who's watching today, invest in your local chamber, invest in April and her leadership. She's doing a great job for you locally from what we're seeing here at a state level. So support your local chamber. They need it now more than ever.
I appreciate the plug, and that was not a paid endorsement, but Scott, we certainly appreciate the positive word. And you were actually the speaker for our economic outlook scheduled on April the 4th. And now, despite your charisma and your wealth of knowledge, I'd be hard pressed to sell tickets to that right now. But what is your outlook as we are emerging from this? How are you feeling about the state of things here in Georgia?
I feel good. I feel really good. And I feel really blessed, frankly. And I think we take it for granted, right? So we have a governor who has made some bold, challenging decisions, and he's been very brave and courageous about it. He's got to balance both public health and the reality that folks who have worked their entire lives to build a business are losing them right now. And so I'm proud of the decisions that he's made. He's obviously gotten a lot of attention, in some cases flack for him. But I think Georgia, more than any other state, is poised to really rebound and grow from this. I read over the weekend about Tesla and out there in California and some of the frustrations they're going through. I think, frankly, we'll see an economic windfall from this from other states and businesses saying, you know what, I want to move to a state that really values and appreciates my business and is not afraid to make decisions based on data that both protect citizens from a health standpoint, but also make the state attractive from a business standpoint. So I'm very excited about our outlook. I think we're incredibly blessed to be in a state where the governor says, you know what, I trust you. I trust you to make the right decisions for your families and business, and gives you the freedom to do that. No one is compelled to go out and shop when they don't want to, but if you want to and you want to be open, you're allowed to do that here in the state.
Yeah. Well, and we just got a question from the audience that I'm going to pull in. So what are your thoughts regarding some of those who are simply existing and not living? Some people are staying home out of fear and watching the news. So, preventing them from going out safely, of course. So you just mentioned, nobody has to go out. But what do you think? What is the impact of that?
Yeah, so one of the interesting ideas that I'd seen, so the impact is kind of a slower recovery, right? And I do think there's a lot of fear and misinformation out there. I think fear can be healthy in some respects, right? We don't want people going out and having mass parties and getting right all over again. But at the same time, folks need to have the confidence to look at the numbers and say, it's safe to go back out again. One of the things we've talked about at a state level is maybe there's some sort of seal, or think about when you get Department of Public Health, reviews your restaurant, or gives you a health grade and all that. Maybe there's some sort of stamp of approval or something that says this business is adhering to the guidelines. They're safe to visit. It's things like that we've got to think about creatively.
Yeah.
That give consumers the confidence to step out. But yeah, I would tell people again, the numbers are trending in the right direction. We've got bed capacity. We've got testing going on. So we're doing all the right things that give me and my family confidence to begin to go back out again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love what you said about the seal, because, for me as a consumer, I know the kind of strenuous guidelines the restaurants adhere to. And I felt completely confident knowing the practices that I had seen in place, the messages that are, again, pivoting and being innovative. Our restaurants really took to the new platform that we offered, Robins to Go. We now have over 14,000 community members in there every day seeking what our local restaurants and others who are delivery and offering takeout are doing, but they're communicating not only, hey, here's our new family dinner specials, but also here are the extra measures that we're taking to ensure your safety. And I think that is something that I'd love to see put into place, because our businesses and those that are operating in local communities are going above and beyond in their approach. And I think that needs to be rewarded in some way.
I think so. And don't doubt the power of social media also. I mean, if there's a bad actor out there who's not taking the right precautions, letting too many people in, they're going to get called out. And I'll tell you,
we'll know.
Yeah, they'll lose business from that. So, but yeah, I've been amazed at how many businesses are taking that even extra steps beyond the minimum requirements that we're laying out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got one more question before we do another quick break, but I wanted to ask you, I know the governor emphasized and really doubled down on his message about citizens who were avoiding critical health screenings or, dismissing serious health symptoms and reassuring the public about the safety and sanitation of our hospitals and our healthcare facilities. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for a brief while there, I believe elective surgeries and things like that were closed. Those are open now. And yeah, he made a big point to emphasize that, heck, we don't want to lose people or have people get unhealthy because they're afraid to go out. And so, yeah, he emphasized that our hospitals are taking all the right precautions, that you should feel comfortable going in, that if you have a surgery or an appointment or something you need to get done from a health perspective, please go and do that.
And Scott, what advice would you have for small businesses who are trying to navigate their way back to some sort of normalcy?
I would say a couple things. So take advantage of the resources that are available to you. I think most, if not all, have applied for the SBA disaster loan, the PPP program. I would tell you, watch the guidance that's being put out, attend things like this so that you can learn and be educated. I would tell you, some of the best businesses I've seen are nimble at this point, right? Are sort of seeing what the market is going to look like 2-3 months from now and changing in that direction. So be nimble. Now's a great time. I'll tell you, when the tide goes out, now is a great time to see who's real, who's legit. And this is a great opportunity for you to retool your business for the next 5-10 years. So take advantage of that opportunity.
Awesome. Scott, this is fantastic. We're going to take a quick break to recognize our sponsor and let you take a sip of water. And then we're going to come back for audience questions. So y'all stick around.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Rob Betzel, and I'm with Hargrave Fiber. I want to thank you for joining the Robbins Strong programming. I'd also like to thank the Robbins Chamber of Commerce for all their hard work and dedication to supporting us, the business community, through these trying times. It's only with a strong business community and a strong Chamber of Commerce who supports it, who's providing the appropriate ways for us to connect together, to be educated about the appropriate and timely matters at hand, and provide the advocation, both locally, statewide, and nationally, where we remain strong and viable throughout these events. Please continue to engage with the Chamber and take advantage of the things its membership brings you, but also find ways to support the Chamber so that it will remain strong, so that we can remain strong.
And we're back with Robbins Live. I'm April Bragg with the Robbins Regional Chamber, here with Scott Hliton from the Georgians First Commission. So Scott, I know we've talked about some personal interest offline and everything. Are you binge watching anything right now?
I'm binge watching a lot. I think like most people are right now. I don't know if I should be ashamed to admit this, but I have seen the Tiger King. If you haven't checked it out yet, April, go. It's every episode.
I think I'm the only human on earth who hasn't seen it yet.
I think so. We talked about Cheer. I thought that was incredible. Some of the things. So I mean, there's just a lot of great programming out there, and I probably shouldn't admit this either. I'm a big Bachelor fan, so I can't wait.
Really?
Oh my gosh, I love. Yeah.
So you just get sucked right in.
I get sucked right in. Yeah, my wife makes fun of me all the time for it. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So I know, whether in business or in our personal lives, as we, had to pull back on our lives and our public access to things, is there a hobby or skill that you've either re-engaged with or learned over this time?
Well, I'll tell you, the one that I'm missing the most, and it's the fastest growing sport I don't think anybody's heard of, but I'm loving pickleball. And just prior to all this happening, I was getting real super into pickleball, which obviously is you play with 4 players at a time. So with social distancing and all that had to stop. But I will say this has given me more time. I mean, not having the commute back and forth through work and a few other things. A lot of times to spend more time to be reflective, think about from a strategy perspective how we can help people. So I would encourage folks on the line here, use this time to advance yourself, your own skills, and pick up something new to grow and use it during this time. But yeah, I can't wait for my pickleball to come back.
Yeah, very cool. I saw Tyler commented that he's rewatching Monk. And I mean, what a great one right now, right? The original germaphobe. But along those lines, access to PPE is something that I know business owners are concerned about and identifying opportunities. Can you share any resources that you've known? I know we mentioned the Department of Economic Development's website.
Yeah, I would reach out to them. They've served as kind of a clearinghouse during all this for PPE. So we've had, and this is what I've loved, and it's just kind of, makes your heart warm during all this. We've had a lot of corporate entities here, both in the state and out of the state, reach out to us and say, hey, where can I help? I want to retool my manufacturing to produce PPE now. And so Georgia Econ Development, they still have the link up there. You can fill out a quick form as to what your company wants to contribute. The state will then take that in and then make sure it gets PPE to the folks that need it. So again, just there's so many fantastic stories that are going to come out of this. I think that's one of them that goes unrecognized, is that our corporate environment is stepping up in a very, very big way to help people out. And so just seeing that kind of common humanity amongst people is really special. But yeah, if you need access to PPE, I would start there as they're serving our clearinghouse right now.
Yeah, that's great information. We also have some resources available on the Robbins Strong portal of robbinsregion.com. You can check out, and we also have that link to the Georgia Economic Development Department's website. So, you mentioned corporate citizenship, and I think it has been humbling and overwhelming to see the number of large corporations who have donated things like plastic in order for even here in Warner Robins for our fire starter fab lab to create hospital gowns and face shields and everything like that. And I read an article several weeks back now that said, the real winners coming out of this are those businesses that are, doing everything they can to take care of their people. And so I think, whether the business is small or large, we're seeing those shining examples. What are some creative ways that you've seen businesses take care of their staff and in the families affected by their business?
Well, again, for those who are business owners right now, this is a unique time where you can really step up and demonstrate to your staff that you care about them and their safety. A lot of them have gone above and beyond, you're right, as far as providing face shields and masks and gloves and things like that. I'd sort of turn the question on its head a little bit and say, I'm proud of the private sector citizenry that one of the big things that's warmed my heart is when all this started going on, there was a big push to, hey, we've got to help and support small business. And so I've been amazed that, you've got the Robbins to Go program. And, it's programs like that where we've stepped up and said, hey, we've got to help small business and do whatever we can to make sure we shop small during this time. And so that's been awesome to see, just the creative ways that folks have figured out to support their local small businesses.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, regardless of socioeconomic status, profession, industry, geographic location, this virus has reminded all of us about our humanity, and it really has allowed community to come out as the clear winner here. So for you, in wrapping this up, what's the silver lining here?
Yeah. I think the silver lining is we've learned a lot, right? We have come a long way since where we were a couple months ago. We've seen great leadership from the governor and his staff. Again, like I said earlier, I think Georgia is better positioned than many other states to recover. We are resilient. We're going to come back from this. I think a lot of businesses have taken the time and the opportunity to rethink through how they operate and offer business, and they're nimble. So just, a lot of growth and learning. I think we are well positioned to avoid any kind of, future bump and well positioned as we go into the fall and what that might look like. So again, incredibly appreciative of organizations like yours, April, who are on, out there getting the word out for us. That's the biggest thing right now, is just spreading as much factual information as possible.
Yeah, very good. Well, Scott, we are super excited about the report that you're going to be presenting in the coming days and weeks. Can you share with us, how can people get in touch with you? How can they find out more about your office and the great work that you guys are doing?
I love it. So if you Google Georgians First, .georgia.gov, so just Google Georgians First Commission. We've literally had hundreds of Georgians reach out through the site, tell us, what regulations, red tape, things that their business is facing and where we could help at a state level. So go check that out. We've had hundreds of folks help volunteer for our work and put this report together. And we're excited to publish it and get that out. As far as reaching me, you can find me just about anywhere. I'm on social media. It's at Scott Hliton GA. So just my name, at Scott Hliton GA. And then on the Georgians First site, you can find my phone number and email and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. And that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of Robbins Live. Scott, it has been my pleasure to spend some time talking with you today. Thank you again so much.
April, you're awesome. And I can't wait when we can all get back together again to do this in person. And I am so grateful for your leadership and enthusiasm and everything you do. You're a real great gift for the Robbins area. So thank you for what you do.
Well, I appreciate it. And the invitation is still open for you to come down here. So thank you so much to our guest, Scott Hliton, and to Hargray Fiber for sponsoring the premiere of Robbins Live. We hope you like what you see. If you do, make sure you share this on your social media. Give us feedback so we can continue to grow and provide relevant programming for you. This show can be found on the Chamber's Facebook page and YouTube. And join us next Wednesday at 2 with my guest, Charles Briscoe, and Dr. Mindy Hartley from House and Healthcare. We'll see you then.